Alright, so today we're going to learn the second way to compare fractions. So we're still comparing fractions to see which one's bigger, smaller, or equal, but this time we're going to look at something called common denominator. Okay, so common denominator. And what that means is common is going to be same, and the denominator is the bottom number. So what we did yesterday is we didn't care what the bottom number was, we just did the different parts on the number line. Oh, my M has like too many. There we go. Alright, so what we're going to do today is we're going to show the different way. And remember how we did equivalent fractions, because we're going to use that here, where what we learned where we have to multiply the top and the bottom by the same number. So we're going to need to remember that rule here. So we're going to take two fractions, and we have to decide which one is bigger. We're going to compare. Now remember, this tricked some of you yesterday. It can be less than, it can be greater than, but it can also be equal. Don't forget that, equivalent. So deciding which one's bigger, smaller, and equal. So don't forget that. That got some of you yesterday. Okay, so we're going to decide which one is bigger. And let's go ahead and use 1/2 and 1/4. Okay, so yes, we can use our benchmarks, and yes, we can draw our picture, but the other way is finding the common denominator. So that's the way we're going to work with today. And in order to do that, what this says, it has to be the same bottom number. So we have to make them the same. And in order to figure out which one is going to be the same, is we're going to do our multiples. Now our multiples are the skip counting. So if we are counting by twos, it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there. So these are multiples. This is 2 times 1, this is 2 times 2, this is 2 times 3, this is 2 times 4, this is 2 times 5. But this part is the part that we really want to look at. I'm just showing you how we get the multiples. So now we need the multiples of 4. So now we skip count by 4. So it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Now if you don't know those, if you can't skip count like that, you can use your multiplication chart, and I'll show you how to use that on the next one. Alright, and just like up here, this is 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12. This is the skip counting that I'm talking about. 4 times 4. You don't have to write the little numbers. What you have to write are these. Uh-oh, that one's not the best one to use. It's okay. You can still see. Those are the multiples. So now we have to pick the one that is the same. Which is the one that's the same? Well, there's not the same 2, it's 4. Right? Okay, so what times 2 did we get to make 4? It's the 2 right here. And 4 is 1, so we don't really have to do anything to that. We just have to make this one 4. So, let me get a different color. Let's get purple. So I look up right here, and this might help you a little bit. So the 4s are the same. So to make this a 4, we do times 2. And then remember, what we do to the bottom, we have to do the top, is 2. So this now changes. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. We've changed it. So it's the same common denominator. So which one's bigger? Because now the bottom number is the same. All we have to do is look at the top number. 2/4 is bigger. And if we had done our picture, we have 1/2, right? and 1/4, we can prove it with pictures too. Now, I picked fractions that we're familiar with. We're going to do the same things with fractions that we're not so familiar with. Okay. I'm also going to get I'm moving myself to the side, and let's get our multiplication table out. So if you have trouble with skip counting and you can't do it in your head, you can have your multiplication chart out to help you. And let me show you. Let me get it really fast. Okay. Oh goodness, it's gonna not be very nice to me today. Okay, here we go. Oh goodness, there we go. Okay, so for example, here's it's skip counting by twos, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, so you can look on here. So some of them I know without using my multiplication, other times I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. Sorry friends, it was not liking me today. Okay, so our new problem that we are going to do, let me grab my book out. So let's do 2/5 and 1/10. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to look at our denominators, the denominators, because we're trying to find the same denominators, So I need my multiples of 5. Well, I don't need my skip counting chart for that. I can count by 5. So I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20. I'm going to usually do 4 or 5 and check to see if I need to do any more. And let's do our skip countings of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, so we want to find the first one that's the same. And the first one that's the same is the 10, right? Okay, so remember, our little thought, this is times 1, this is times 2, and this is times 1. 10 times 1 is 10. So then over here, we've got to get this 5 to be a 10, we have to multiply by 2. And whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. Do I have to change this, or are they the same already? They're the same already, so I just bring this one down. We only had to change one of them. So, which one's bigger? I can compare now. I don't have to look at the bottom number. All I have to do is look at the top number. 4 is bigger than 1. So that means the 2/5, because those are equivalent. The 2/5 is bigger than the 1/10. Okay, now remember right here, all we're doing is we're finding an equivalent fraction that's easier to compare. It's easier to compare if the denominators are the same than it is if they're not the same, because now I don't have to draw any boxes and try to make them equal. So we're finding equivalent fractions to compare that have the same denominator using multiples, so something that we learned a long time ago. All right, we're going to do another one. So let's do, this one we're going to have to change both of them. So this one is 6/10 and 3/4. All right, so we have to first look at our bottom number. So we're going to do tens. Multiples are tens. Skip counting by tens, we don't need our multiplication chart for that. We can do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, okay? And this is, if you want, you can do times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5 to help you remember that these are the multiples. So it's 10 times 1 is 10, 10 times 2 is 2. Now let's go ahead and do our next one, the 4s. So we've got, and then this is where we can come use our chart if we're not so good. So it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. All right, so this is times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5. That's how I got those multiples. So now we got to find ones that are the same. There's There's no 4s, there's no 8s, no 12s, no 16s. 20 is the same. Do you see that? There's 20 here. Okay, so now this is where we have two problems now. We have to change the 10 to 20, and I look right up here. Oh, that means I have to multiply my 10 times 2, and then my 6 times 2. So let's go ahead and do that. So 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 10 is 20. Now, 4 and 20 are not the same, so I have to change the 4 to 20 also. So then I'm going to look over here. Here's my 20. What did I have to multiply to get that 20? Times 5. So it's times 5 times 5. Remember, it's equivalent fractions. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now these are equivalent. All I did is break them into smaller pieces. So which one is bigger? The 20s are the same, so we don't have to look at that. The 12 or the 15? The 15 is bigger. So 15 20ths is bigger than 12 20ths, and since these are equivalent, that means 3/4 is bigger than 6/10. So the thing to remember with this part up here is you need to find the multiples, and then we need to make equivalent fractions, and this is a different way to compare. So we're changing them to the same amount of pieces, so it's easier to compare than if they have a different amount of pieces, and the way we do that is using our equivalent fractions. And then it only works if both the bottom numbers are the same, and that's why we try to find the multiples. This is the tricky part right here, remembering that you have to find your multiples to see how I can change that bottom number to match the other one. Okay, so we're going to practice these more in class today.